job. Well, when he came in, we specialize in an exit plan. So we said, all right, Rick, let's map it out 24 months. And he wasn't making little money. He was making multiple six figures with the government. So we mapped it out. He left his job after 24 months. And that was from zero experience.
All right, guys. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. I'm your host, Curtis May, where we help you escape the Wall Street casino and build wealth in a practical way. I'm excited to welcome back a returning guest, Chris Prefontaine, best-selling author, real estate expert, and the founder of the Smart Real Estate Coach. And so Chris is a pioneer of a strategy. I'm going to let him explain it, called Real Estate on Your Terms, a system designed to help investors close deals without banks, without using their own cash or credit, and without traditional finances. With interest rates still high, inflation squeezing cash flow, and market uncertainty in 2025, I couldn't think of a better time to revisit this conversation and find out how this model is working today and how you can build true financial freedom. Chris, welcome back.
Hey, good to hang out as always, Curtis. And I think you just nailed it. I said yesterday in an event, 34 years this fall in the business. And in the last 6, and I think going forward, I've never seen such a cool time for cool demand even for creative financing. So it's great.
That's cool. So tell them back up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take 2 minutes because I'm going to link. He's been on, how have you been on? Like 3 times?
Over the years, I think so. We've been hanging out.
All your whole family, basically. So I need to link them all together. And but tell them a little about yourself.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into straight away.
Yeah. As always, I won't do the 34 years because we'll put everybody to sleep. But you can pick apart any piece of this later. So I've been at this again 34 years this year. I've touched a lot of niches, not all. But after the 2008 crash, that sparked where we are today. And the reason is during that crash, I had, I don't know, a little over 20 properties that I signed personally with the banks on. And so after I got my ego aside and got beat up and just, thinking I failed, I got that out of my hair. Then I said, okay, I got to go find something. And the frustration level, Curtis, was I was finding one thing and one thing only. I was finding companies that were screaming about their products in the real estate education business, but never did I find something where they could actually hold my hand. And I was like beat up and I wanted that. So I said, to heck with it. My wife said, look, you went through a lot. Why don't you actually create what you're looking for? Why don't you create something where you can help people? And that was the impetus to the coaching because I was just doing deals again and I was happy doing it. I created and trademarked, as you know, the 3 paydays. So I was like, this is really cool. I saw the light finally again. And then I had started to get some organic demand for coaching. And here we are. That was like 2014 or so. I think we did 14 grand in coaching business.
Okay.
We grew then to, since I've talked to you, maybe a little bit of this is updated, we grew to 3 years in a row, hitting the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies in the United States. So things have evolved a lot in post-COVID. It's now our team's all over the country. We can attract great talent. We don't need to be here in Rhode Island. I sold my building, right? We don't need all that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I sold the building in 23. We bought that in terms. We had 20-year terms, but I said, it's a good time to sell. We did really well on it, and we moved on. So yeah, that's where we are today. I can go back to any piece of that, of course, but they can get that on the other shows too.
Okay, so let's talk about this is a personal question for Curtis. One of the things that with your associates, we'll get into it, but this is coaching for Curtis, right? So is what I noticed when I went up to their event up in Rhode Island, fantastic. And you're big on personal development, obviously, but you're big on the associates, the people in your program, giving them a program to kind of improve themselves. Before we get into that, talk about that and why you think that's important to help them become good investors.
Yeah, this is huge. Yeah, this is huge because, and it's timely that you bring this up because, look, if it was as easy as, let's say Curtis was one of our associates. Associate means they do deals with us and we rev share. They're like almost quasi partners, right? Because we want to help them. That's what I just alluded to that I didn't have. And the reason your piece that you just brought up is important is if it was as easy as showing them how to do deals, the skill set side of the business,
right,
that would be easy. Okay, go to our YouTube channel, call up the Deal Structure Sunday videos that have been going out for, gosh, 8 years now, every week. So there's like 400 or 500 in there, maybe more. You could learn it that way and never talk to me, right? If it was that easy.
right.
But what happens is, to your point, is to become that entrepreneur, people don't realize it till they take that journey. It's different. We help people escape their jobs, and then all of a sudden they go, oh, I didn't know it was this hard. I didn't know I had to do my own schedule. And it sounds easy, but no, it's a different ball game. So you have that piece. And then the other piece that's important is the mindset is not just that shift. It's okay. This looks good. I saw all the deal structures. Now life happens, right? The seller does something they're not supposed to. The buyer does something they're not supposed to. Things change. And that's where we come in. It's so important. Our genius model teaches 3 legs. You might remember this. It's the skill set, sure. But it's the systems, and then it's the mindset. And it's so important because your mindset challenges now and your constraints now will be different a year from now. You'll grow, but you'll have new ones, right? So I think that nails where you're going with that. But yeah, it's so important.
Yeah. What are the 3 things again? Is mindset, skill set? Is it mindset? Because I say mindset, skill set, network, and then you say something. Your third one is different. What
systems?
Or
just
one of
because
those is different.
About business, yeah, the systems. It's only that's the only one that I changed.
Systems.
I mean, yours is key. I'd have to add more legs to the stool, but for now, that's our genius model. Yeah,
that's awesome. Okay, so since we last talked, it's because it's been a few years. Has the model changed or adapted to deal with current market situation? Because you alluded to it's better than it's ever been.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the beauty of this. To answer your question, the beauty of real estate on your terms, creative real estate, is that it automatically adapts to the market. Like we all know one thing, right? In real estate, if you've been around for a little bit in real estate, you know one thing, and that's that it constantly changes. That's the one constant. Okay. If we know that, when we get good at creative real estate, when we get good at that, we are super comfortable in our own skin in any market, right? And the reason I said the demand's so cool now is my wife will say this will help explain it. My wife will say, like, every time she sees something on the news or an interest rate change, she'll say to me, how does that affect you? I mean, I've been married 39 years, Curtis, and she still asks me this. How does it affect you? You think she'll get used to the answer, because the answer always is, it's great. Whenever there's change, that creates more demand for us. Why? Because people need a guide, because the media is screaming at them, right? Bad market, bad market. They've been saying since COVID that we're going to have a crash. Just don't worry about that. Think and focus instead of worrying about that. Think and focus. How can I learn creative real estate so I get excited every month when things change, not get worried?
Yeah, I have been I actually going to print out and put it on my wall. But what I've been saying to people over and over, our clients and just anybody that'll listen, because they're like, oh, this to tariffs, that. And I said, I always go back to the Jim Rohn quote, the winds of adversity blow on us all. The difference is how you set the sail. And, I focus on, can Curtis set a better sail? Right? Can I help my clients set a better sail, in terms of dealing with adversity, because you still are going to win as long as you, respond. I have Myron Golden says you want to develop responsible kids. Responsible meaning to respond with ability, not just react. Right. And so it goes back to mindset, skill set, systems. That gives you the ability to respond with ability, because you're developing the ability to do that. So when I hear you, that's what I think. And that's a lesson I want people to get. Stop just, the world's going to hell. It's not. I had a guy say, the sun's going to come up tomorrow morning and it's going to go down tomorrow night. So just go to work. So
if I may, let me add something to that. You made me think of it when you said the wind and the sail. I had a mastermind last week with my higher level. I still love coaching the higher level people. It's because it's a whole different commitment level. I love coaching them. And I said, there was a quote in the book, The Wealthy Gardener. I don't know if it's a parable. Have you gone through that? It's a really cool book. So it's really, I like parables. And
I've heard of it. I don't know if I finished it. I think I got it somewhere back here in this thing.
It relates to all the cool stuff you do with money. So I know it resonate with you. And in The Wealthy Gardener, one of the quotes was something like, when our roots are deep, we don't worry about the wind, right? So I said to the mastermind group, because I said, okay, given that quote, and I recommended they all read it, right? I said, given that quote, let's talk about, I said, I want to hear from you guys. How can you get deeper roots in this market? And yes, one of the things was, well, I could watch on a regular pattern, I could watch your deal structure videos, Chris, on YouTube. I said, good, okay, good one. Second, they can go through the course over and over because your head's in a different spot every time, our main course.
Yeah.
But so many things aside from those two things came up about mindset. So things like this, things like, well, association, who I hang out with, proximity, who I hang out with, all those things came up, and I loved it because that's important. Like, who we hang out with, as you know, you've seen our events. It's like, you can't underestimate that. That changes where the heck you're going for sure. So let's get some deep roots, everybody listening, and let's create some extreme wealth in the next decade.
You got to hang around with winners, that won't look at you. So you can't do that, or that don't work. That's a scam. And people that will encourage you or challenge you. Yeah, you need to hit that, hard and not look back. I tell my clients all the time, stop listening to these people, and they may love you, but they don't know anything. Okay. And or about this thing that you're trying to do. So you're going to have to be the trailblazer. So, and had a confidence. I think that's where it goes back to the personal development, because you have to have the courage to set out on your own.
I agree.
So in today, I think that these are redundant, but so in today's market, I don't think the market really changes because it's the term. So I wrote down some questions and now I don't like them.
Okay. That's okay.
So, but what's the opportunity in today's market? Let's say I've gone back and I'm going to link to other videos and we see what this is. Because every time I talk to you, I get really excited about it. What's the opportunity that you see? What are you excited about and excited about for your associates?
Yeah, there's a few that's an appropriate question right now. I won't go in any order. One is, you have all those mortgages. 9 out of 10 right now, I think in the US are under 6%. Out of those, 4 out of 5 are under 5. And there's a portion of those that are under 3. Okay. If those are out there, why not go talk to them? Because a lot of those we're buying just on accident with our lead flow, but you can target them and you can chat with them. Now, why am I saying that? Because if you learn creative real estate, or when you do, even if you go buy your own house, your spouse probably will be pretty happy with you. When you go secure a house at, let's just say 3% with an existing mortgage that you don't have to sign personally on, you or your spouse. Well, that's pretty cool. Secondly, there's a really cool, because of population, the aging and the demographics, there's a really cool amount, about a third in the United States, properties that are free and clear. That's an enormous opportunity. Look, before this interview today, Curtis, I sold the building I told you in 23. I bought that building on terms. I didn't use a bank. Okay. So a beautiful medical building came up for sale here locally. I just went to view it. And the only reason I went to view it is the realtor contact I have knows that I will only look at it if it's owner financing. Don't bother me. I'm not going for a commercial loan. And this gentleman's in his 70s and he said he'll finance it. Do you know how many people are like that right now that they don't need the money? They're free and clear. This is a $2 million building. This owner's saying, yeah, I want to finance it. Well, that's an opportunity for you to help them and set yourself up for a decade of some nice cash flow. And the last thing is, I don't know where this list came from, frankly, or how long it's been taken to develop, but since I talked to you, this is new. We just put in play in the Wicked Smart community a new list from a new company, and it's exclusive to us, called Distressed. And you're going to love this. Instead of pre-NOD and pre-foreclosure and all those lists that everybody's chasing, right? All the investors are.
Right.
This list predates all that. It's people who they have metrics for people who maybe missed or are still missing medical, utilities, rent, and maybe missed a mortgage, but then it came back on time. So it's like, this is preempting perhaps some problems that then will lead to the mortgage and everybody will be looking for it, but we're getting them distressed early. That's an enormous opportunity, because the credit card debt and all that stuff right now, you probably know this better than me, that number is sky high right now, record highs. Well, if the credit card debt's record highs and the rates are record highs, what do you think's going to happen next? The mortgages.
Right.
So that's an opportunity. So there's 3 big opportunities. If for no other reason than to buy your own house, there's 3 big opportunities there that I think, now I don't know all the listeners, right? So disclosure, I don't know you. I'm just gonna make a general statement. I think if you put your head down and focus within our framework, our ecosphere, in the next 18 to 36 months, you can, with the 3 payday system, set up like a decade of income. Now think about that for a second. Like, that's pretty cool. You can get off the treadmill or you can scale it higher. but that's a big opportunity.
So why would, this is what I always go back to, and I know you've told me this, but would they do? So let's go terms. Tell them what let's start there for a second, and because my second question is why
do they?
Why do they?
Yeah. So terms, we should define some things. So terms means no banks, no signing personally. Please don't do that. I don't care what it is. No gobs of money of your own, right? And no borrowing from investors and putting yourself out there. Some people don't like to do that. I don't. So that just spells creative real estate. So what does it mean? How do we buy? 3 ways. That's it. 3 ways. 1, owner financing, preferably free and clear properties like the building edits like that, so that you can make monthly principal payments. Principal, no interest. Second way we buy, subject to existing loans. That's why I said, now this will make sense to the listener. That's why I said there are a bunch out there at low interest rates. We buy those. The property transfers to our entity or our trust, but the loan stays in the seller's name. Yes, they'll do it when they need financial relief. Yes, they're all over the place. We buy them every month. The third way we buy is a lease purchase. That's for the seller that does not want to transfer the title. Okay, we'll cloud title with a simple real estate memorandum or notice of option, and we'll control the property instead of buying it. And guess how much we put down on a deposit in our built-in agreements? $10. $10. Okay. You can control millions of dollars of real estate for doing $10 per house.
So this is interesting because see, most people, so I track people, their goal is, passive income. They want to, but they all think I got to work on my credit. I need down payments. I need capital. Here's what I get a lot. I need to do some wholesales or flips so I have some capital.
I hear it all the time.
Yeah. And so listen to you, if they learn some skills, if they invest in some skills, they can bypass all of that financial stuff because they're not good at saving money. The Fed says the average savings rate is like 4%. It's like 67% of people making 100,000 live paycheck to paycheck. I mean, it's some really crazy statistics floating around out there, but that's what I'm hearing. It's 2 parts. So that's the solution to your problem, how you can get in the game, and then the terms is a solution to the seller's problem. And I'm not sure I understand that. Like the reason why would they do that? Yep. But you're really giving them a life raft for their situation.
Or two things. Life raft financially, yes, for those that are in that boat. However, there's a whole other segment of people like the guy that I bought the building from and the guy that I hope I could buy this building from. Do they need a life raft? No. What's their reason then?
No. Yeah.
Estate planning and tax planning. Yep. They don't want to pay the income, the capital gains all up front, and they might be in a different tax bracket 4 years from now, so they want to push it out. You just don't know behind the curtain. Here's an example, Curtis. When I talked to the guy who sold that last building, he had a 4x8 sign on a busy road across from BJ's. This was a building that was in a good area. They call it $1 Million Mile. He said to me, I sat in the office, that became my office when I bought the building, and he said to me, Chris, the realtors just don't get it. I said, what do you mean? He said, I have a sign that says owner financing. They're giving me cash offers. I don't want to be cashed out. They don't get it. This is the seller telling me this. So I said, okay, we took literally, Curtis, 15 minutes to cut a deal on a commercial building that didn't need 90 days of underwriting from a bank. So you just have to pay attention to their needs. There's a long way to answer your question, but if you ask the questions we teach, you find out, is there a goal that the market's not accomplishing for them, like him? Right. Or is there a problem to solve, like someone that needs financial relief? Or do they have a second or third home that they just want to be rid of? I'm thinking of real deals that have been going on lately. Right. Or is there a divorce and they have to sell the house? Like there's all kinds of reasons. I could do a whole book on just all the reasons we've seen on the thousands of deals we've done. They are out there, and you just need to be the problem solver.
Are they, if they're like your people, the couple you just mentioned are somewhat sophisticated, do you find that you've got to kind of educate them to open their mind up, the seller, that is, to a creative structure to help them get out? Is that a big deal?
You are correct. On the higher end homes and on the commercial or related buildings, they kind of get it. and on the most of the single families we do, they either never heard of it or vaguely heard about it. But do you have to do a lot of education once you find their problem or their pain? No, because you just have to assure them that you got it. Like you can solve that, and then you explain it. Sure, but it's not a long process because we have done a few videos that every associate gets for their website. We give them to them. So there's some commonly asked questions that we know now that you just put on your website. We've made them from us, the talking head. We made them all into cartoon educational videos, and every associate gets them on their website. So it's
wow. Okay.
Yeah, simple. We did that over the years.
So so let's talk about that, because this is beyond investing. You're really helping your associate. They have a business. They can in like 3 years develop is this multi-million-dollar, or like on the back end with payday 3.
Yep, you said it right.
A business. Like I'm looking at going, okay, I'm not planning on retiring, but here's my retirement plan. I have to get my wife and say, like, you gotta meet him and go through the stuff so I can get everybody on the same page. But how do you help them? So it's the mindset, right? It's so when I look at business, right? Because I view this as a business, there's lead generation, lead conversion, lead fulfillment, right?
Yep.
So, and most businesses, even most real estate investors, wholesalers, they don't do enough lead generation. Are there ways to, because what I like about your system, you're very systematic systems, right? Scripting, here's where you go, here's how to use VAs. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So we do use virtual assistants for the initial call. When someone's brand new, do I like them to do some of their own calls? Yes, so that they understand what goes on. Even though, since we talked to you, actually, we've evolved with our virtual assistants. They are all trained, and they're trained in creative, because you can't just go to someone, whether it's in the country or out of the country, and expect them to know creative real estate. They might know wholesaling and fix and flip, because all they're doing is trying to get a property for 60 or 70 cents on the dollar.
Right.
Our system and what we go talk to the owners about is not predatory like those. They're helpful for them. And so we have a virtual assistant call first. If they're open to creative financing, then we call. So it's a system there. And then when we get the properties, believe it or not, the biggest challenge is to weed out all of the buyers who need our rent-to-own program, because 80% of the market right now can't get financing, and the banks aren't getting easier. It's getting worse. So there's such a plethora of buyers in this pool that we have to now weed out the ones that are just renters, and our systems do that. Nick has perfected that. Some done for you videos, some done for you voicemails, so that they then come to us and find us only as they weed themselves out, pre-qualify themselves out or in. So it's all systems, all systems. And it started from what? Me in 2013 doing it, and then Nick coming on board, as you know, and then Zach. And so we've systemized all this over the years, and the associates benefit from that. That's why it's cool that we're in the trenches, right?
Right.
Because
you still are doing, y'all as a individually, as a family, are still doing your own deals and doing deals right beside your associates or with them.
Yeah, Zach, my son-in-law, is traveling right now, speaking at RIAs, and I texted him and said, "Hey, I got you an appointment next Tuesday for a house in Massachusetts." He said, "Done, I'll be there." So, we're doing deals. It keeps us current. And I gotta say, if there's anyone listening, Curtis, you know this about us. If there's anyone listening, please know that most educators, their products and their knowledge is outdated. Like they did a deal 5 years ago, and they're teaching you, and their product hasn't been updated. It's painful to update coursework, as you know.
Yeah.
And we've just updated our QLS program for the 4th time since 2016. It taxes the whole team. Like, it's grueling to go through. We have 12 mods and 60 videos and live call. We have to update that every few years. So anyway, that was a little off track, but that's very important for you to know that.
Yeah, it's not on track, because I think that, let me tell you, I've seen, because sometimes I'll come in on the back door and do education, and I see these people throw 30 grand at these gurus.
Yeah.
And I see them midway through the year, after a year, and they haven't done the deal. They haven't, they don't even really have any clear goals, And so one of the things I was like, all right, one time I was working, somebody took me almost a half hour to get with them. Well, because they were doing wholesaling, flipping. I was like, well, what is your goal? Like, what is how do you know if you've won? And finally, it's like, I need $15,000 a month. But it took me a half hour to get there, and she'd been in this damn program like a year. Like that to me, that's the first coaching meeting. Why are we doing this? Why are you here? What's the win?
Yep.
And I see that, and then they don't still real have a viable, because they're still out there in the marketplace, scrumming with everybody else.
Yep.
So so I'm very excited about Chris' program. I don't know if you could tell.
Well, the other piece of this, Curtis, is someone asked me yesterday. We did that virtual event I told you about for 3 hours, and we just like took a breath every like segment and said, okay, questions. We kept it very interactive. And what someone said, what's the number one mistake? I said, well, there's like 3-ish, but number one, I think, is mismanaging expectations. And I think what causes that, actually, I don't think, I know what causes that is you have a gazillion marketers nailing everybody on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and everything else with their dollars to buy their get rich quick course tomorrow. Right. So then you join some niche or some course. It could be wholesaling, it could be whatever. Right. And then you beat yourself up if you don't get rich in 90 days and you think you failed. No, I'll be the first to tell you that everybody does deals at a different pace because they bring with them to the table baggage. Right. You might have had a death in the family. I've had this in my community: death in the family, divorce, health issues. So when you come to me, I can't say to you, you can do a deal in 30 days. I don't know yet. Let me work with you for 60. Then I'll say, okay, Curtis, here's what I think about you. One of our top coaches in New Hampshire, I don't know if you've met him because this is after we saw each other, Rick, he worked for the government 30 years. 30 years. He tried wholesaling because everybody says that's what you do for us, right? Right. Guess what wholesaling is? Sorry, I have a lot of good friends. I'm not poo-pooing on it, but wholesaling is nothing more than another job. Yes. So he was running the government, 180 employees, and he's trying to do that. He's like, I couldn't do it. It was a job. Well, when he came in, we specialize in an exit plan. So we said, all right, Rick, let's map it out. 24 months. And he wasn't making little money. He was making multiple six figures with the government. So we mapped it out. He left his job after 24 months. And that was from zero experience. So just, again, managing expectations. Guess how long it took him to do his first deal? Because he was busy. 15 months. So I give you, as you know, I give you the truth, right? Everybody else wants to tell you how easy it is. Do people come in and do 30 days? Sure. Once in a while. But it took Rick 15 months. But guess what? He then did 4 deals. I was coaching him personally. He did 4 deals, the 3 paydays on each one, over $100,000. Wow. Okay, I see a clear path. I'm done. I'm on my job.
Yeah, because security is the ability to produce. And so once you've proven to yourself that at will, right, you're comfortable leaving. Because see, most people have this, they'll fall into scarcity because they don't know, like, even in bringing people that want to come work in our business, right? It's like they fear living on commission, but that's because they have bad. Probably might be my fault. I haven't given them good systems for lead generation. My system, or they won't copy me, but it goes back to systems. That's why I'm fascinated, the inside baseball of how you run it, because I see parallels to me as a business person of how can I get our clients or my associates more successful. So that's what's fascinating talking to you always. Here's a question. So some investors wonder if creative terms are a niche play. Is this still a scalable model for those that want to create? And you just said it is. So I probably, let's expand on that. I want to leave my job in 3 years, 5 years. What's that number? And so you actually do tell them how you kind of help them do that. I want to go into that a little bit. So I want you to have confidence that, hey, this is something that you can do in this environment with all this stuff going on.
10 years ago, I would have said,
opportunity, but
I agree. 10 years ago, my answer to that would have been something along the lines of, I can help him do it and I can coach him and blah, blah, blah. Now, fast forward, I can in hindsight say, look, about every quarter, someone's leaving their job with us and it's been predictable. So what would we do hypothetically? Well, we'll find out what you're earning now, right? We'll find out what you need in the funnel for payday 1, 2s, and 3s, so that it's coming and you see the cash flow. And then we'll also find out what your palette is for how much you'd like in the bank. Some people say, oh, if I had the cash flow, I could leave. I'm all set. Others say, well, I need a little bit of this because I have no savings in the bank, and then I can move. So everybody's different. But the plans usually range from 9 to 24 months. That's been the history with us. And I'll give you another example. You may have met Judy. She's up in Maine. Judy, I won't give you her exact income, but let me say that it's not small. It's multiple six figures. For 17 years, she did that. So it wasn't bad money. She was like, I'm done being controlled by them. She just left 10 days ago. So it's fresh in my brain. What a story. Like, that was a very specific plan that Rick helped her with because Rick had done it, right? There's someone in our community that keeps doing this, and it's very predictable. And we would map it out for you with strategy and checkpoints, as long as you don't mind being held accountable. Because when Rick came in, he said, oh, I'm concerned about my health insurance and I'm concerned about this. And we said, whoa, take it easy. We'll give you the plan. You just follow it and let us hold you accountable. If you get off track, we're going to tell you, right? We're going to give you a little slap on the wrist and say, you're off. You told us you want to do this. So if you don't mind being held accountable, we will help you.
Do you find people come in, but they resent being held accountable, or you kind of weed them out before they get to you?
No, this is good because most people, if not all, say at the very beginning, especially if I'm going to accept them to my program, because I don't have the time or, frankly, the patience for people that aren't serious and committed. I don't. At the level of what I want to coach.
Yeah.
So I ask them a series of questions, right? I want to know. I want them to give me a video on why they think they'd be a good fit to be coached. But on top of that, I'll say, are you okay? I got your goals. Curtis, can I hold you accountable to this? And sometimes it won't be easy. They'll all say yes. I'm telling you, 3 months in, when I call them out on things, some people get defensive. And I go, whoa, remember this conversation we had? Would you like me to send you the video that we had this conversation on? Because I'm just here to help you. This isn't personal. You told me you want X. It's my job to get you to point Y.
Right. And so strong people want to be coached,
Yeah. Committed and serious people want to be coached.
Yeah. Especially if you want to see, because I don't know, this Jim Rome, if the why is big enough, the how don't matter. So you got to have a big goal that kind of pulls you toward it. Like, you don't have to push you. You can't push a rope. I had somebody say to me one time. So I don't try to, I tell people, look, if you're happy broke, I'm happy for you. Right. Because I can't push a rope.
You probably saw our values at the event on the poster, but one of our values is effort for effort. So I have this group of 5 I coached at a high level. And one of them kept seeing me spend a lot of time. Like, I'll put aside 2 hours and do calls for him. Right. Mm-hmm. And she said to me, hey, how do I heard you meet with him every day. How do I meet with you every day? I said, Annette, it's effort for effort. You show up, you won't wait for me, but you say push a rope. I say, I never push a wet noodle across. I'm not doing it. So you show up, I will help you. So it's effort for effort. It's one of our values.
That's fantastic. Chris, I feel like I'm talking to you. I just kind of want to hang out, and am I missing anything? Like, what haven't I asked you that you'd like to get here that I'm missing?
No. This conversation's awesome and organic. I will say, I know there's a variety of people listening, great financial minds. If they're listening to your stuff, they're not doing it just hanging out. They want to improve. Knowing that, if you're keen on learning within the real estate world how to tack this onto your life, I'm not so naive to think we're it. I'm biased, right? But I'm not naive. So here's a simple 3-step formula for you, everyone. This would work if you're going to go open a restaurant, but I'll use real estate.
Okay. Step
1, pick the niche, right? Mm-hmm. If flipping land behind the computer is good because you don't like dealing with people, okay. If it's okay, like whatever it is, if it's our world, okay. So pick that. Then so that's easy. Step 2 gets a little harder here in the 3 steps. Step 2, find someone, whether it's me in our niche or whether it's someone else. Again, I'm not so naive to think it's just us. Find someone though that, number 1, you can get behind where they are. You want to be there. You said it earlier, like who you hang out with, right? But so important is this piece. I know a lot of successful people, and I'm sure you do, that screwed up relationships, maybe even got divorced. I know people that have their kids unfortunately went the wrong direction and passed away, like crazy stuff, right? Because why? Because they weren't there. Right. So when I say that you can get behind like a mentor or a group, the whole picture, all right? We're very family oriented. If that's good for you, good. Some people go, it's a little bit too family for me. Okay, then we're not it. Like, get behind someone that you go, I want that. And then third, put the blinders on for 3 to 7 years. Now, let me tell you why I say 3 to 7. I used to say 3, and you probably remember that. I had on my show during COVID, Brian Tracy. He was 82 then, right? God love him. I don't know what he's doing now. But I said that to him on my show. So I'm the host. Picture this. And I say, this 3 year, I tell him my philosophy, and everybody usually agrees with me. All the guests go, yeah, good point, right? They don't want to disagree. Brian Tracy says, no. I said, what do you mean no on the 3 years? He said, you need 7 years. He said, I've been broke. I'm 82 years old. I've been wealthy. He said, Chris, for the first 2 or 3 years, I don't care who you are, you're going to suck at something new. And then for 2 years, you're going to think, okay, I'm kind of getting this and I feel like I'm adequately paid. And for the last 2, you'll have your breakthrough financial. And I said, all right, I'm going to use that from now on. So now I say 3 to 7, not 3. Put the blinders on and stay with that person and that niche, and you'll have an amazing experience. I promise that.
That is so good, because here's what they say: I want multiple streams of income, but they're trying to do like 4 things at the same time. And I say, look, you got to do one thing and get good at that. Then maybe you can do another thing. Yep. And then, but you got, it's like spinning plates, but you got to keep this plate spinning while you're spinning plate number 2. And I'm not even sure that's a good analogy, right? Because you shouldn't be spinning a bunch of plates, is it? And so that's that. My dad used to tell me, I heard from the time I heard 2 things from my dad from the time I was like 7. Boy, you're never making money work for somebody else. And he's telling me it takes 3 to 5 years to build a business.
Agreed.
Right. Yeah. So when I got into anything, whether it was an MLM or, when I first started, I was like this MLM insurance thing. But even though I sucked, I didn't have to put out hundreds of thousands to get into the supermarket business like my dad did. I put up like $50, right? So it was a 2-3 year deal. And so if I was still part-time, it was financing my apprenticeship. So I always went into it like that. And I don't think people give themselves their effort times the compound, because we live in this microwave, I want success tomorrow type mentality. And they jump around too much. Like if they do this, you need to, if they look at your system, it works. So if it's not working for you, it works. So Marvin goes to say, if it's not working for you, it's working on you, so you can become the person for whom the work works.
Yes.
And look at that.
You said jumping around. What came to mind immediately was, when you said jumping around like this, is like drilling wells.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of really cool niches in real estate. So people go like moving from thing to thing. It's like drilling a well, but you never hit water because you don't give it time.
Right.
And if you want multiple streams, to your point, my opinion, you want multiple streams of income in addition to what you're doing now. When you learn creative real estate, you automatically create within the niche, so you don't have to get sidetracked, multiple streams. Why am I saying that? Well, you're going to run into single families.
Right.
You're going to run into multifamilies, and you're going to run into mixed use and commercial. I just told you I came from a building that I'm looking at for income. Well, that's because I'm in the space. Right. And it came about. I didn't go looking for that. So you're going to put yourself in a position to find multiple streams of income just by being in the space and learning the skill set.
And the fundamentals of creative financing are the fundamentals. It doesn't matter I can obviously listen to you. If you get the concept mentally, you could probably buy businesses like that on
they do. People do.
Yeah. So financing.
Yeah. It's funny. So I've had M&A brokers, mergers and acquisition brokers, call me and say, hey, could you do this with my clients? Could you show them how to? I said, it's already being done. You just don't know it. Like people are buying and selling businesses on terms all the time. I know the people teaching it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Let me ask you this. One last thing. I have a last question, but I just thought of a question before that. And I remember having this conversation in terms of somebody starting, and you told them they didn't have to leave their job right away, but if they had X amount of hours a week, you could still kind of ease your way into it. Do you still have that philosophy? And what was that? What would be reasonable for them to start their business?
What's easy about this chat with you today is that virtual event I did yesterday, I nailed a lot of these things, so it's fresh in my brain. It's 5 to 6 hours a week, 20-ish hours per month. That'll generate you about 40 leads. 40 leads is going to give you about 1 deal a month. Our deals, as you recall, all 3 paydays are worth $45,000 to $350,000 per deal. So does that mean you're going to get up to 1 a month starting next month? No, disclosure. It's going to take a little ramp up. But once you get there, we have the metrics, to your point, and those are the metrics. 5 or 6 hours a week will get you there.
Tell them, before I let you go, you may think of one more question. Just so I want you to go back and listen to the other one, because you'll find that it really doesn't change. They just get better.
Correct.
Right? But it works. But what are the 3 paydays?
Payday 1 is when the buyer who deserves a home, just can't get financing yet with the bank, comes in and gives you a non-refundable down payment. Payday 2 is you're paying something on the underlying loan, not until you have your buyer, or you're paying it to the seller and you're getting more from them in a rent monthly until they get their financing. So it's a spread, payday 2. Payday 3 is all of the principal pay down throughout the term of that deal accrues to you plus your markup. And that equals 45 grand to 350 grand across the United States right now for all the associates, for sure. And you know what we can do, Curtis? I didn't say it. Let's give everybody the free book. I like doing that on your show. Okay. And this is, you'll remember, this is not, hey, free book, and then you get to the checkout and they make you put a credit card in for shipping. No, this is free. We're going to ship it from this office.
Okay.
Just go to wickedsmartbooks.com, wickedsmartbooks with an S.com/Curtis. We always do this for Curtis. We had a great relationship, and I'd love you guys to have the free stuff.
wickedsmartbooks.com/Curtis.
That's it.
All right, listen, go. Let me ask you this last question. What's next for the Smart Real Estate Coach? What are you focusing your energy on in 2025? Any new initiative, books, training tools that my listeners should know about? 2
things. We started about a year ago, and you're welcome to come as always, a very private, hands-on, 10 or 15 people come in our conference room right here. That's all we can fit. With me, Nick, Zach, and one of our coaches. It's 4 of us to 10 of them. And we do live calls, and we do live deal structure. We call the sellers, we get them deals. They leave with appointments and deals. We've never done this before. It was Zach's idea, Curtis, a year ago. It's the best thing we ever did, because they leave them with deals. As a company then, why do we do that? Because it's a lot of work, right? Why do we do it? Because we obsess over shortening what we call TTFD, time to first deal. Because when you do a deal more quickly, you're not leaving. So that's what we obsess over, that metric this year and next year to improve that.
That's awesome. Mike, if you're winning, you're going to stick around.
Yeah.
Right. Your family's winning. And, with all of the, the things going on in the economy, it's, again, going back to setting a better sale, but skills, organize. If you look at Napoleon Hill, organized planning, specialized knowledge, creative financing, right? And the least favorite of the principles are accurate thinking, right? Yeah. So, and but that's tell them. Every time I let you go, I think of another question, but I know I was adding up. I was working with a coach that says, listen, you've spent 6 figures in your learning to be the best at your thing. And I know that y'all as a group go to masterminds, go to stuff to always, sharpen the saw. Tell them about why that's important and a little bit about your thought process around that.
I try to do it quarterly, and I always have, because we all can go back home, right, and get into our environment, and life happens. And I personally think you need a little, it's like I go for drips for my immune system, right? So you need a little drip every quarter.
Okay.
And that drip is association with people that I don't want to say think like you, by the way. I don't say that anymore, because everybody says, oh, like-minded thinkers. That's great. But how about better? How about thinkers that think bigger than you and will pride you and will hold you accountable to accomplish your goals, not just think like you? You don't want everybody thinking like you. You're not going to grow.
Right.
So that's important to get around us for that reason, and to get around other people that are big thinkers.
Is it in the real estate space, or is it just successful people?
For us, we do in the real estate space, but we also, as a company and as individuals, this is all our key people too. What are you working on next year? So who do you need to go hang out with? For us, back in 2017, it was, we need to get someone to help us scale. We never did it before. We don't know how to grow a company. So we found that. We're still with that organization today. But so that's important. And then it's, okay, we need someone for lead gen, because we're not doing a good job online with our marketing. I said that earlier. There's some big marketers out there. That's not us. Okay, so we got to get better. So then we go seek that person out. So it's always someone that we're seeking out. And then, of course, the personal development stuff we add in. Yeah.
Awesome. Chris Pre, I appreciate your time this morning. I know you got a lot going on. I think we got a lot in 35 minutes or so. So guys, go out there. You want to listen to this twice. I'm going to link, make sure you get the book. Okay. I think you'll find it helpful, and look into their programs. Because if you're you want to do real estate and you want to separate yourself from the pack and be unique in the marketplace, learn how to solve problems. The bigger the problem, the bigger the check.
That's it.
And Chris, thank you again for being on a Practical Wealth Show. We're going to link the rest of it, those other episodes, all of them really, because it's a family affair here. And so you might as well go back and look them up. So I'll make it easy for him and link them to the show notes. Chris Prefontaine, thank you for being on the Practical Wealth Show.
Appreciate you, buddy. Good to see you.
All right. Good to see you.